November 11th and 12th, 2023, CanJam Dallas.
CanJam Dallas.
Head-Fi does Dallas. Head-Fi does Dallas. We do. We're going to. So it's going to be held at a hotel whose name I always have a hard time remembering.
It's at the Dallas Addison Marriott Quorum by the Galleria.
Yeah, see, now you know why I don't remember that name. But
I
yes.
almost forgot it.
Yeah, I have not been to Texas in so long. What about you?
Oh, it's been many years.
So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Texas again.
Yeah.
And I get asked a lot, by the way, and I wanted to talk about this just very briefly. Why Dallas?
Yeah.
Or why Chicago? Why Singapore? How do we choose the cities where CanJam is? Well, one of the big ways we do it, I don't think I've ever talked about this before, but publicly, is we look at headfi.org's data. That's one of the ways we look to see where our community has the biggest concentrations. And New York and California, far and away our biggest communities.
No doubt.
We do CanJam New York and CanJam SoCal. They're huge.
Yep.
And third, for so many years, was Illinois, Chicago. We've done 3 different CanJams in Chicago, a ton of different Chicago HeadFi meets. In fact, that is where you and I met.
Yeah.
The very first time many years ago at a HeadFi Chicago meet.
Yep.
And I don't remember exactly when, but Texas overtook Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd been asked a lot if we could do a CanJam Dallas. And when it overtook Illinois, we're like, okay, we got to do it. We've got to do a CanJam Dallas. And that's why CanJam Dallas.
Now, I've not done Dallas directly, and I don't know if you have. Have you seen the venue?
I have not seen the venue. So I was not there during location scouting.
Right.
But Ethan tells me it's a fantastic venue for a CanJam. And he said it has a lot of great amenities. It's very well situated. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing it. All right, having said all that, now let's start talking about gear.
And seminars.
We'll get to seminars, absolutely. But we're going to start with gear.
Yep.
We're going to start with portable electronics. I am very, very excited about these two right here from astell&kern, recently launched, one very recently launched. We talked in the CanJam SoCal preview recently about the SE300.
We did.
Now, this is the special edition version. This is the SE300 Titan.
Yes.
I think inside, exactly the same. The guts, right?
I believe the internals are identical.
All right. Now, I want to talk about those internals.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes the SE300 one of my favorite digital audio players in quite some time from any company, not just astell&kern. It has inside a DAC architecture that is a 24-bit discrete R2R DAC architecture.
Yes.
Not common. I don't know of any others specifically that have 24-bit discrete R2Rs. There might be.
I think maybe one or two.
But it's not common. And as an aficionado of R2R DACs, we have several here at HeadFi HQ. That excites me about it, and I do love the way it sounds. Now, another thing I love about astell&kern digital audio players, when they put a special feature like that in, something unique,
right?
Like they did with the SP2000T, when they, which is still a current model, I think, that has the tube amp in it. You can switch between solid state and tube and hybridize to varying degrees between the two, and it all happens in real time. It's all switchable on the screen, and it happens in real time, so you can hear what it means to you sonically.
Mm-hmm.
This, the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, no tubes in it, but you can, for the R2R DAC, there's a non-oversampling mode and an oversampling mode.
Yes.
You can switch between the two in real time. For the amplifier, it can run in pure Class A or Class AB.
Right.
You can switch between those two, again, in real time. That's a big deal to me. So that makes it one of my favorite digital audio players in a while. Now, for the special edition, it comes, I think I mentioned grade 5.
Grade 5 titanium alloy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it also, what's the other big difference?
Leather case.
Oh, comes with leather case.
Yes.
So they say simply includes leather case.
They kind of downplay it.
They downplay it. They just, I don't know why they're so modest about it. So I'm kind of a leather goods snob. And they don't tell you that the leather they use and that they've traditionally used have been some of the finest leathers in the world.
Right.
They've used Badalassi Carlo leather before. I'm not sure exactly which tannage this is.
Right.
But it's a beautiful feeling leather.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vegetable tanned leather, I'm sure. If it's Badalassi, I'm pretty sure it's all vegetable tanned. And I'm not sure which tannage, but it's a beautiful feeling leather. And that they include a Badalassi Carlo leather case is awesome. So I love that they just say includes leather case. No, it's one of the finest leathers in the world. All right. So the other DAP that they're going to have there is even newer.
Yeah, just last month actually it came out.
Yeah, they announced this one. This is the astell&kern Con Ultra. And you were telling me the Con family is...
So the Con family is kind of separate from the rest of the astell&kern line in terms of their families. They've got the AN Futura, they've got the AN Ultima, and they have the AN Norma. The Con is its own kind of cousin family. Okay. So it doesn't fall into one of those 3 AN lines, but actually I think it predates the AN line, doesn't it?
I don't remember. I actually don't remember. Maybe they all came out together. But the one thing about it is, like you call it, the kitchen sink.
Yeah, it is.
Digital audio player. Well, I guess we're probably going to talk about it again, about the Cord Hugo TT2 being kind of a reviewer's DAC amp.
Right.
This is, I would say, one of the probably ideal reviewers' digital audio players.
It covers so many bases.
So the amplifier has a low gain mode.
Mm-hmm.
So far, every in-ear I've plugged into it, dead silent, no self noise.
Right.
But then in its highest gain mode, it'll output, I think there's 4 different gain settings.
There's 4, and the highest I think is 16 volts when you run balanced.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of juice.
So you can drive any in-ear you want and just about any over-ear you'd want to drive.
Yeah.
And it sounds beautiful doing it. Now, another thing that's lovely about this is the SE300 is quite responsive. This is very important to me. I know I mentioned this before. We don't talk about typically the CPUs inside the DAPs. It's just not really a big conversation thing with DAPs in our community. Maybe we should, though. Now, they don't specify what specifically the CPU is in this, but it is an octa-core CPU.
Yes.
It might be, I don't know, the same CPU that's inside the SP3000, their flagship. But the SP3000 is probably the snappiest, certainly one of, if not the fastest in terms of UI speed of any of the DAPs I've so far used. This is up there too because of that octa-core CPU.
Yep.
Very responsive. I dig that. Did I mention the DACs that are inside?
You did not yet.
So it uses dual ES9039 M Pro DACs.
Yes.
So yeah, this is wonderful. Oh, and it has an 8400 milliamp hour battery.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Yeah, for up to 11 hours of play, which I think it needs that big a battery for
the juice.
It needs it. So yeah, I am extremely excited about these. They just arrived. These 2 units just arrived literally a day before we started shooting, so a bit late in the process. But we're going to have to talk about these more on their own, without a doubt.
Oh, yeah. Now, I know we're looking forward to spending more time with the astell&kern players, but there's something on this table that you've been spending quite a lot of time with and quite honestly kind of gushing about it.
Yeah.
It's the mass-kobo Model 475.
Yeah.
And it's a portable amplifier. And
yeah, I didn't think that we'd be picking up anything like this.
No.
Ever again.
Because it's a dedicated portable amplifier.
Yeah, just an amplifier.
Just amp.
No DAC. And on top of that, it's quirky. Then we talked about this a little bit in the CanJam SoCal preview.
We did.
But let's talk about it here again because I love this thing. So what makes it quirky? We'll talk about what I love about it first. But the quirks are not things I love about it. So there are some quirky things you love.
Sure.
The quirks on this are things I love it in spite of these things. Let's talk about it. So it runs on 4 AA batteries. Rechargeable or alkaline. I would probably recommend rechargeable because they have a flatter discharge curve. Or you can use USB-C to power it as well.
Sure.
But you can't use USB-C to charge it. There is no charging circuit.
Oh.
So you have to take the batteries out to charge the batteries.
Okay.
Then there are 2 gain settings. There's low and high gain.
Yes.
And they're buried deep inside the battery compartment.
Very deep.
So you have to take off the battery compartment door to get to them, and you'll have to use a tool.
Yep.
Like a spudger. Or unless you have freakishly long, very sharp fingernails, because these switches are small, quite recessed, and quite close together. With a spudger, it's not that big an issue once you take the cover up, but the whole point is,
it's an inconvenience.
Yes. Would I like it more if the switch was up front?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Would I love it if there was a charging circuit? I would love it even more, of course. So I love it in spite of its quirks. Okay, why do I love it? It just sounds beautiful with everything I plug into it that it can drive. So what can't it drive? I wouldn't plug my hardest to drive headphones in this. I would not use this.
No, it's a portable.
I wouldn't use it with the Susvara.
Right.
But, I would definitely not even try it with the Susvara. But in low gain mode, drives all of my IEMs beautifully, and it sounds gorgeous. Why? I don't know. It's something about the mass-kobo magic, and there is a pretty dedicated following.
There is.
But small following, because they're hard to get a chance to listen to. But anyway, everything I drive with, it sounds beautiful. In high gain mode, it'll drive any in-ear that's harder to drive. So I haven't found an in-ear that it doesn't drive beautifully yet. And then again, for over-ears, most of the over-ears I'd want to drive, it'll drive in high gain mode. So yeah, I love this thing. Now, one thing I don't like, let's get back to the quirks real quick. you are more enamored of the input than I am.
Very much so. So I want to give you guys a little quick history lesson here. In 2014, I believe it was, CanJam at RMAF, Sony was unveiling to Head-Fi for the first time the Pentacon connection, and they were talking about how it can be a connector for single-ended or balanced use. Well, as far as I'm aware, this is the first device I've seen that does single-ended and balanced from Pentacon with a quick little switch.
Yeah, it has a switch. You choose input, balanced or unbalanced.
I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. I can't think of another device that does that either.
I don't know of any. There might be some, but I haven't seen them yet.
All right, so why is it a quirk for me? Because I don't have all the cabling I need to use it with all the things I'd want to use it with.
Sure.
I'll get that. I'll get there, obviously. And maybe somebody at CanJam Dallas will have what I need. So what I'll need, obviously, for a single-ended, so keep this in mind if you are going to pick one of these up. If you're using a single-ended desktop source, you'll need an RCA Pentacon interconnect.
Yes.
And then if you're using a balanced output source, you'll need probably
3-pin
XLR,
XLR,
3-pin XLR, 3-pin XLR to Pentacon for balanced.
Yep.
Until I have those, I won't be able to fully use this the way I want to. I want to try it with everything. I've been using it because the only cables I have for it right now are 4.4 to 4.4 millimeter little small interconnects. So I've been using it with digital audio players, portable ones like these, and some of the other ones. And again, love what it does. So I'm carrying this silly thing around because I love the way it sounds. And yeah, so I got to get the cabling for it. So this will be, the mass-kobo 475 will be at the Mimic Audio exhibit.
Yes, it will. And they'll also have the full size.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask you.
465?
The 465, I think, is the flagship desktop DAC. And again, they have a
no, amplifier.
Oh,
desktop
did I say
amplifier.
DAC?
You said DAC,
yeah, okay. That's the point. These have no DACs in them. They are
Amplifier
dedicated
only.
amps. Yeah, amplifiers only. And again, they're hard to get a chance to listen to before recently.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the only times I'd really heard it until recently were in Tokyo.
Right.
For years, I've been running into mass-kobo for years. But anyways, so yeah, this is great. You'll understand why they have such a dedicated following. The 465 desktop amp is such a beautiful sounding amp as well. It is quite expensive.
Very.
So
that's not cheap.
This is not cheap either. But yeah, so didn't think we'd be picking something like this up. Haven't gotten convinced yet to go for the 465 yet, but I swear to you, every time I hear it, I'm that much closer. So don't miss mass-kobo at the Mimic Audio exhibit for sure.
Now, I want to switch back to DAPs for just a moment because iBasso, you'll be able to audition some of their players at CanJam Dallas as well. You can find them at Bloom Audio's exhibit. And there's going to be two primary models that you'll be able to try. The first is the DX170, which is a very nicely sized, pocket-friendly player, very affordable. I think it's only $450. It's got dual Cirrus Logic chips, the CS43131 DACs, which means it's capable of 32,384 and DSD256. But I love that it has a 5-inch screen, which a lot of players can sometimes feel a bit too big in the hand. And a 5-inch, I think, is kind of the right size for throw out your pocket, throw in your bag, grab it and go. And it's highly affordable. But if you're looking for something a bit larger, or if you're looking for something with a bigger screen, or if you want more bells and whistles, or really
like a
higher
grade,
quality player all around, they're going to have the DX320. Now, I first heard the DX320 very briefly a year ago. I think it was CanJam Chicago, I think, when I first heard it. And it feels fantastic in the hand for a bigger player. I'll say that right up front. Some players just feel kind of unwieldy at times. It feels fantastic. It's got a dual roam BD34301 EKV DAC system, and that's capable of 32,384 and DSD512.
I have not. Okay, so this Rohm DAC, which is spelled ROHM.
Yes.
ROHM. I've seen it. I've seen it referenced. I know that it's well regarded from everything I've read. I have, to the best of my knowledge, not heard anything with Rohm DACs in them.
Yeah.
So I also haven't heard a flagship iBasso player in quite some time.
It's been a while.
Yeah, the most recent iBasso player we have here is from years ago.
Yes.
So I haven't heard the DX320. To the best of my knowledge, I haven't heard anything with Rohm DACs. And for me, then, the DX320 is definitely for those reasons, one of the top must-hear items for me at CanJam Dallas.
And you mentioned the older iBasso players. There's actually a feature that we have on one of the ones that we have here, swappable amp modules.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I'm looking forward to trying that again because, like I said, it's been a while, so I want to get reacquainted with it. Now, at CanJam London earlier this year, we caught up with QuestStyle, and you picked up the QuestStyle M15 dongle DAC.
I did.
And I think now's a great time to talk about dongles because there will be a few incredible ones at CanJam Dallas this year, so let's just talk about a few of them. Questyle M15.
Yeah. So for me, okay, I talked about this a little bit in the CanJam SoCal preview, but I think
Yep.
it's important to talk about it again because
I
it
agree.
was so surprising to me.
Yeah.
So Questyle left us with the Questyle M15. They wanted us to give it a listen, have some fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was not super excited about this. I'm just being very honest because, and I know it's because the last experience I really had with dongle DACs was probably more the first generation ones.
Right.
Now, those were good for their time.
Mm-hmm.
But, with the advanced DAPs that have since come,
Right.
To market like these, I really more gravitated toward those. And so, and these are quite a bit better than those first generation dongle DACs.
Oh, by far.
So they left us with the Questyle M15. I then plugged it in. I finally just got curious, plugged it into my Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
And dang, if it did not turn it into a legit digital audio player.
Yeah.
It was good, really good. So I'm plugging in all my different in-ears into it, some of the ones I've been using the most, drove them all beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Dead silent, so there's no self-noise.
Right.
Dead silent. There has 2 different gain settings.
Yes.
So even for the harder to drive in-ears, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Even for a lot of the over-ears I'd use portably, no problem. And that's when I realized, okay, this dongle DAC thing, it's really come a long way, hasn't it? And so now, I will admit, I haven't yet completely made the transition to dongle DACs.
Sure.
Which is silly in some ways because I carry 2 phones sometimes and then a dedicated digital audio player.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'll ever stop doing that completely. But every once in a while, I will carry dongle DAC now instead if I'm packing super light or just using like a sling bag.
Mm-hmm.
And they're legit. They've really come a long way. So let's talk about really quickly what's inside.
Okay, so the DAC inside is the ES9281 AC DAC, but in my opinion, more importantly, are Questyle's 2 current mode amplification modules, which gives you 4 amplification circuits in total. If you haven't seen their larger gear before, the amplification circuits are really cool in these and sounds wonderful. It's got connections, like you said, for balance and single-ended. I think you mentioned that
3.5 millimeter
3.5
single-ended and 4.4 millimeter Pentacon
Right.
Balanced.
Mm-hmm.
It'll decode 32384 and DSD256.
Yep.
No battery.
Which is nice.
Yeah,
so you don't have to
nice.
charge a separate device.
Right. It uses the power from your device.
And I do love the transparent display on this thing because
I
you can
do
actually
too.
take a look at the circuitry inside.
Yeah, it has a transparent panel so you can see all the guts. It's
Yeah.
really nice. It's a beautiful thing. And it runs off iOS, Android, Windows, and macOS. So you can use it as a USB DAC of just a tiny form factor
On
type.
so many devices, yeah.
Yeah. And it's affordable. It's like $250.
Yeah, highly affordable.
So to me, this was a very significant product. Again, this is the product that showed me that dongle DACs, they're legit.
Very.
Like very legit. They've become really legit. And we've picked up more since.
Yeah, we have.
So yeah, definitely don't miss the Questyle M15 at CanJam Dallas.
Now, another dongle DAC that just arrived, it arrived in the same package as the astell&kern players, also from astell&kern, the AKHB1 Bluetooth DAC amp combo. Now, like a lot of Bluetooth DAC amp combos, you can use this wired. It comes in the box with USB-C to USB-C, Lightning to USB-C cables, and of course, Bluetooth support. But there are some really cool features on this that I think could easily be overlooked. For example, UAC 1 support. If you are a gamer, you probably recognize this from PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Switch. It has support for those straight out of the box. Just plug it in, you're set to go. It's got a really nice DAC inside, the ES9281 AC Pro. And it also supports LDAC and aptX HD. So if you have a modern device that has either of those 2 high-end codecs built into it, this will get you going with any of your wired headphones right away.
Yeah, you mentioned gaming. I just want to say that for me, is just kind of a straight audiophile.
Yeah.
I game just not as much as you.
Sure.
That is a cool use case, right?
It
Take
is.
any wired headphone you have, and you can turn it into essentially an aptX HD LDAC enabled Bluetooth headphone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a very cool feature.
Yeah. There's also another really cool feature that I think a lot of people should know about. It's something called car mode. So basically, you take this device, and if you have an older vehicle that only has an aux input, that might sound familiar to some of us.
Yes.
You basically plug it into your car's aux port. It turns on and off with your car, and get in the car, turn it on, your phone connects, you're off to the races. Very straightforward.
Yeah, we're giggling because I have a rather old, like 15-year-old
Yeah.
Honda, a little Honda that has no Bluetooth whatsoever in it.
Yep.
So in order to Bluetooth enable that car, you need something like this.
Yep.
Car mode is super handy because, like you said, it's just nice to be able to turn it on by turning on the car, turning it off, turns the HB1 off. I think that's, it makes me feel like I have a more modern car.
It kind of does. And it also supports multi-point pairing for multiple devices in the car. And you'll be able to find this at Bloom Audio's exhibit.
Now, it's obvious to anybody that's ever been to Head-Fi HQ that I love tube amps.
Or anybody just watching this video.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So some of my very favorite amps, both for non-electrostatic and electrostatic headphones, are tube amps.
Yep.
And even for speakers. And so this next dongle DAC really is special to me because it is a tube dongle DAC. It's called the Woo Audio Tube Mini.
Right.
And the beautiful thing about it is it reminds me, it sounds like, it sounds similar to one of my favorite products ever by Woo, which is the Woo Audio WA8 Eclipse. It's a transportable DAC, though.
Right.
DAC amp. I wouldn't call the WA8 portable. It's a brick.
And very heavy.
Yeah. So you could carry it, I guess, if you wanted
bag,
to.
yeah.
But But this is easy to carry. Now, I want to make something clear. I think I mentioned this in the CanJam SoCal preview. This really needs to be said. This is a different kind of dongle DAC. So this is not one that you would use while you're getting to where you're going.
Right.
You would use it when you get to where you're going.
Yeah.
Because it is a tube amp. And so that means it rings. Flick it. There's some microphonics. They take some significant measures to isolate the tubes.
Sure.
But it's still a tube amp. And so, again, I wouldn't use it, when I get on the subway, while I'm on the go. Yeah, because that's how I get on the subway. But anyways, so I would not use it while you're on the go. So when you get to where you're going, be it the cafe, hotel, your office, that's where you set it up, use it, and it's fantastic for that. So in that sense, it's quite atypical for a dongle DAC. But to have a tube system, because it's a DAC amp, that you can take with you like that is incredible to me.
Yeah. Now, I do want to point out this does have a USB-A connection on it, but that doesn't mean it's relegated to computer use. It does come in the box. You can choose Lightning or USB-C connections. So you'll be able to use it with your portable devices like your cell phones, tablets, whatever. You're not limited to just computers.
Right. It works with iOS, Android, Windows, and macOS.
Yes.
So you can use it with those. So keep in mind what I said about the microphonics.
Right.
So now, what else should I say about it? Well, it outputs up to 1 watt at 8 ohms. So it has some juice. Yeah. I haven't been using it with in-ears because, again, it rings. I use it with over-ears primarily.
Sure.
And to me, again, it's a very special dongle DAC, but it is different than most.
Very.
But I love it. So so let's see. I want to talk about what's in it. It has an ESS Saber DAC. Did we mention that?
I don't think we know which one, though.
We don't know which one. You mentioned the adapters. Right. It has 3.5 millimeter single-ended and 4.4 millimeter balanced outputs. It'll decode 24384 and DSD256. No battery. We should definitely mention that.
Yes.
With most of the dongles, we're finding this to be the case. So it uses power from the device. Did I mention which OSs it supports? Volume control, play pause button, and then a single-ended balanced toggle.
Yep.
It comes in black, blue, silver, and red.
I love the red.
I love the red.
That is striking.
And it is, I would say it's reasonably priced at $500 for all you get.
I agree.
So if you're a tube amp enthusiast, or if you're curious to hear a tube amp, a nice little form factor tube amp, don't miss the Tube Mini. That's at
Woo Audio's
exhibit at CanJam Dallas.
Now, everything on this table is new, except for one.
Yeah.
This is from Chord Electronics. It's the Hugo 2. If you've heard the Hugo 2 before and you want to reacquaint yourself, or if you haven't, make sure to stop by their exhibit to try it. But the Hugo 2, I think both of us, we carry this on a pretty regular basis. It's a fantastic piece. And inside, it has an FPGA DAC system designed by Chord Electronics' digital design consultant, Rob Watts. It supports up to 32768 and DSD512. So really, no matter what kind of formats you're bringing to the table, it's going to play all of those back.
Yeah, I just want to say that, we're mentioning this because despite the fact that it's been around a while, and like you mentioned, it's easy to overlook.
Yeah.
Even if you've never heard it, it's easy to overlook because you've seen it before. I mean, it's been around for so long.
Several years, yeah.
But in my opinion, and I think your opinion, I mean, say if you feel otherwise, it's still to me my high reference in terms of resolving ability and desktop DAC performance.
I agree.
of any portable DAC amp on the market that I've experienced so far to this day. And so, we talk about the reviewer type products. This is an everything product. If you're a reviewer, perfect product for that. But if you're an audiophile that doesn't review stuff and you just want something that is beautiful to listen to, but that you can take with you, the Chord Hugo 2 would be my highest recommendation as DAC amps go, portable DAC amps go.
Mm-hmm. It's not just portable either. I have a postage stamp size desk at home.
Yeah.
This will serve as my desktop rig from time to time.
Absolutely, for me too. And I also use it as the heart of a lot of my hotel room setups. So I'll just vary the headphone I bring.
Mm-hmm.
But that's often, the Hugo 2 is often at the heart of those setups. And even at home, I have like a piano bench that I use as a desk.
Right.
And like for your postage stamp size desk, that's mine. And that is the DAC amp I'll use most often with it. So I carry it around in my gear bag pretty much everywhere I go.
Yeah.
So
and there's also one thing I do want to mention that I don't want to gloss over.
Yeah.
This has crossfeed.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. So for me, you don't really use crossfeed that much.
Not as much. Primarily older tracks.
Yeah.
Not really much in the more modern
Well,
stuff.
same here. So just to explain very quickly what crossfeed is, for those of you who don't know, when you listen to loudspeakers, your left ear still hears the right speaker. Your left ear still hears your right ear still hears the left speaker, but with headphones, obviously you don't get that. So this introduces crossfeed and it has 3 different settings. Mm-hmm. So 3 different levels of crossfeed. And for something like old stereo Beatles, where the left is in the left, the right is in the right.
Right.
And never the two shall meet, crossfeed makes them more natural sounding.
It's a must for Rush.
There you go. So for me, that is an important feature. I love having it in a device. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that. So again, it's our high reference, I think, for both of us.
Yes.
For resolving ability, and I hate to call it desktop-like because it is a desktop quality DAC amp.
It is.
It's just portable. So don't miss it. If you haven't heard the Hugo 2 especially, you must listen to it at Chord's exhibit at CanJam Dallas.
CanJam Weekend wouldn't feel complete without the seminars, presentations, talks, and panels from industry insiders, engineers, reviewers, and community members. And lucky for us, CanJam Dallas promises an outstanding lineup of insightful sessions this year. Kicking off our seminar schedule Saturday at 2 p.m., Jason Stoddard, co-founder at Shit Audio, will be giving a talk titled Going Beyond One Number to Rule Them, Measurements in Perspective. Shit Audio's history with measurements includes being called lazy, incompetent engineers, buying not 1 but 11 audio analyzers, and then designing both spectacularly measuring gear and stuff that's downright scary bad. Are they crazy? Or is it possible that a single, reductive number just can't reflect actual listening levels, transient response, or the distortion of transducers? Find some answers Saturday at 2 p.m. At 3 p.m., join Rob Watts, digital design consultant for Chord Electronics, for DAC architectures, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In this presentation, Rob will be delving into the complexities of choosing the best DAC in today's digital audio era. He'll discuss different DAC architectures, their pros and cons, and provide objective standards for evaluating them in high-fidelity audio applications. If you have any questions about DAC design, this is the seminar for you. Then, wrapping up our Saturday seminars, starting at 4 p.m., Rob Watts will be shifting to a more focused discussion titled How Interpolation Filters and Transients Crucially Affect Sound Quality. Rob will be offering a deep dive into the workings of digital interpolation filters, emphasizing their significance and impact on fidelity and realism in audio. If you're aiming for top-tier audio equipment with a digital source and want to know more about these concepts, or if you're simply wondering what the heck are interpolation filters, this seminar is essential. On Sunday, November 12th at 2 p.m., Michael Ricci, Senior Director of Electroacoustic Engineering at XMEMS Labs, Michael will be presenting It's About Time. Join Michael for a journey through the history of XMEMS novel piezo-MEMS microspeakers. His technical presentation delves into the theory, design, and testing of piezo-MEMS, discussing both absolute and relative phase. It's tailored for both audiophiles and product designers, so no matter on which side you fall, you're bound to discover new things during this seminar. And our final seminar for CanJam Dallas 2023 kicks off at 3 p.m. with an AMA, or Ask Me Anything, simply titled Ask the Community AMA at CanJam Dallas 2023. For over 2 decades, Headfi.org has thrived as a platform for sharing and learning about audio experiences. In this engaging panel discussion, seasoned Headfiers Goldworker, Hi-Fi Hawaii 808, Nova Flyer, Warren P. and Zachy K will address various topics related to HeadFi, audio, and music from their diverse viewpoints. Newcomers to HeadFi or personal audio will find this especially beneficial, as this panel will directly address questions on gear, recommendations, and other debated subjects. Each of these seminars will take place in the Bent Tree 2 room on the main level of the Dallas Marriott Quorum, and seats will fill quickly, so be sure to get there early to grab a spot. We can't wait to see you there.
Well, we can't really have a headphone show preview video without talking about headphones.
No, we cannot.
And we have a table full of them here.
Yes, we do.
These are just a few you'll be able to hear at CanJam Dallas, but
Yep.
wanted to talk about them. I just realized that because I'm rather short, I don't even know if you can see me above the headphones. So hopefully you guys can see me. Otherwise, it's just going to be a wall of headphones from which a voice is floating above them. Anyway, so hopefully you can see me. I want to start with the Abyss headphones Diana MR.
Yes.
So this is probably the most distinctive of the Dianas. It's also brand spanking new. It just came out just before CanJam SoCal. Went over very well, understandably so. The sound. So many things about this make it distinctive amongst the Dianas, and I would start with the sound. You know, on their page on the Abyss Headphones website, they talk about this in the context of professional use or studio use. I don't think they've done that with the other Dianas. I can see why they would. I can see why they'd talk about this in that context.
Right.
Because I would say that of the Dianas so far, this would be the most neutral.
Yes.
And as I've said before, I don't think neutral is just a single frequency response line. It is a range within which neutrality is. And this is within that range.
Yes.
The way they've tuned it, it's not lean and dry or anything when I say neutral or flat.
No, it's not.
I would say the way they've tuned it, the bass is presented in a way that I would call lush-ish.
Yeah, I could agree.
It's not bass emphasized though, to my ears anyway. I also like that they allow you to tune it with the pads, and that's super easy to do. So if you're at the show and you're at the Abyss exhibit, take the time, because it takes like seconds, to swap the pads. They have the bass port pads, which I haven't used with this yet, but there's leather and there's Alcantara, or I don't think it's Alcantara. I don't know what it is. Microfiber.
Yeah.
It's the vegan pads, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call the vegan pads. I tend to favor those, even though right now I'm showing the leather. The vegan pads tend to smooth it a little bit up top. I don't think most people feel it needs to be smooth with the leather. I'm one of them. I don't think it needs to be. I just prefer a smoother sound. So I favor the microfiber or the vegan. Try them both. I also want to talk about how easy they are to drive.
Oh, very, yeah.
So of all the Abyss headphones, I think these would be the easiest to drive, the most sensitive. I believe they also have the lowest impedance of any Abyss headphones so far, I think.
I think so.
So whereas something like the Diana TC, which is still the flagship Diana, super resolving. I'd say more resolving than these.
Yeah.
Also more expensive. When I would travel with those, I would usually bring something that had a lot of drive. Not that they're super hard to drive or anything like that.
No.
But they benefited from it.
Right.
These are super forgiving of anything because they're so sensitive. So if I use a dongle DAC, which I've tried several with it, some of which don't really have a lot of drive.
Sure.
Everything so far has driven them easily. Some of the DAPs we have that don't really have a ton of drive it very easily. And of course, if you have something with a lot of drive, then that's fine too.
Yep.
So I love having that flexibility. So I recently had that trip to San Diego.
Yeah.
Just had a carry-on, so traveled very light.
Right.
I had these and a dongle DAC. I love that flexibility. I also want to talk very quickly about the looks, because you might notice if you're a Diana aficionado that it looks a little different.
It
has an insert that they put in, which I really love. I like that they changed up the style a little bit. You can get it, I think, in at least 3 different things. There's a carbon fiber weave, which is the traditional carbon fiber forged, like a forged carbon fiber, which I love.
Yes.
That's what we chose. And then wood, I think, called sapele or sapele. I don't know how it's pronounced.
I don't know.
Yeah. So and I love the way it looks. And there's also changes made in the headband. They did a whole video about it on the Abyss channel that shows what's inside. It's all new, and it makes it more comfortable, fits more heads. So at the Abyss exhibit, I would say try all their headphones, of course.
Yeah.
Compare this to Diana TC, which is, again, they're still their flagship. But I have a feeling the MR is going to go over very well for its price.
Sure.
For its ease of drive.
Yep.
Its flexibility, and also its sound signature. So try this at Abyss's exhibit at CanJam Dallas for sure.
Now, at the other end of the alphabet, from Abyss Headphones, we have ZMF Headphones. And if you've not been to ZMF Headphones exhibit in recent years at a CanJam, it's kind of like a black hole. It sucks you in and you're going to have a hard time escaping, because there's going to be so many headphones in there. Their collection is massive. They have a wide variety of sources and amps to pair with them. like the new Bokeh, which they had at CanJam SoCal. I didn't get a chance to hear it, but it's a more portable focused headphone.
Yeah, I didn't even see it. It's a portable closed back, right?
It's a closed back headphone, kind of more oval shape, so it's smaller on the head, and I believe it's more efficient, easier to drive. So at CanJam Dallas, that's going to be one I have to check out. But probably, I assume, most people that are going to the ZMF room are going to be focusing on their two co-flagships, the Caldera and the Atrium.
Yeah.
And I believe you have an affinity for one of these.
I do. Well, actually, this is interesting. So I think I might have mentioned in one of the preview videos that I think it was London. Like, anyways, when I go to the shows, I like to ask when I talk about ZMF, like, which do you prefer, the Caldera or the Atrium, when people come out of the room or if they're in the room. And I think it was in London. I lose track of which show is which anymore because we go to all of them. But I think the Caldera was like rather overwhelmingly favored there. And
was it?
Yes, and I tend to favor the Atrium. Then in other shows I've been to, the Atrium gets favored more. And so, but I've been listening almost exclusively to the Atrium, which is the dynamic one. I guess I should mention that. So the Atrium is the dynamic flagship.
Right.
The Caldera is their planar magnetic one.
Yes.
And I prefer the Atrium. I have preferred the Atrium. But with all the Caldera love it was getting in London, I decided let's break out the Caldera and listen to that more. So that's what I've been doing. And now I'm kind of like, maybe it's just because for me it became new again in listening to it. And it is, I would say it's more resolving than the Atrium. The Atrium is what I would call a more traditional ZMF tuning for me anyway.
Okay, yeah.
I would almost call it, I hate using the term musical, especially when the Caldera is still very musical. But I think, anyways, it's not, I would say the ZMF is the more traditional, the Atrium is the more traditional ZMF house sound to me. Yeah. And the Atrium would be the epitome so far, like the best representation of ZMF's signature sound, if you can say they have a signature sound, and I think you can. The Caldera is more resolving though, and but it's still very musical, and I've been listening to it more and more. And like I said, I don't know if it's like new toy syndrome still, so I don't want to call it, but in some ways I've been enjoying it at least as much. I don't know that I want to say more than the Atrium, but that's why it's just a really fun discussion to have. Yeah. For a company to have two co-flagships like that, two completely different kinds of headphones, one planar magnetic, one dynamic. Anyway, so when you go to the ZMF exhibit, definitely try the Atrium and the Caldera. I know I've talked about them before. I've told you I've favored the Atrium, and I would say I still do.
Okay.
But I can see why it kind of goes both ways. So yeah, anyways, I love both those headphones. Dakoni Audio is obviously best known for their custom ear pads for the over-ear headphones that have swappable ear pads.
Yep.
Just about every model that you can change an ear pad on, they have a custom ear pad for. But they're also found now standard as ear pads on some production headphones.
Yes.
But they also will have their own headphones. They have their own headphones.
They do.
They'll have them at CanJam Dallas. They'll have the Dakoni Blue, which is a collaboration with Fostex. It's based on the Fostex T50RP Mark III. That's $250.
Right.
And if you're a Fostex T50RP enthusiast, it's a nice tuning, a nice variation on that model. They'll also have the Dakoni Hi-Fi Man Cobalt closed-back dynamic headphone. So they did a collaboration headphone, dynamic again, with Hi-Fi Man. And that's another affordable headphone. I think it's like $400.
I think so, yeah.
So you'll want to stop by and hear that as well. And of course, you can expect both those headphones to have Dakoni ear pads.
Of course.
It'd be weird if they didn't.
Yes.
So let's go back to the custom ear pads very quickly. That's what they're known for. They also make the Bullets ear tips for in-ear monitors. So if you're looking for tip variations and tunings for your in-ears, make sure to stop by there. So a lot of people forget that they make those, thinking only of the ear pads. But another thing a lot of people don't know is they make other accessories. What I love about Dakoni is they are clearly a company that intends to serve headphone geeks of the geekiest type.
Yes.
Like us. But anyways, so I want to show one accessory that we bought a ton of. We bought many of these. This is called the Savior V2 or the Savior version 2. And I love this case. We have a lot of them.
Right.
Because we were swapping headphones into different protective cases when we would want to take them home. What's nice is now we bought enough of these that for a lot of our favorite headphones, we can just keep them in there kind of permanently, waiting to be carried and taken about. So I want to show you how cool this headphone case is because you can use it with even really tall headphones.
Yes.
So Hi-Fi Man headphones can be quite tall, for example, and you can see this swallowed these hole.
And most of our cases won't house that headphone.
That is correct. So a lot of the cases we have won't work well with something like the Aria Organic.
Right.
And so this fits very nicely in here. It also comes with a shoulder strap that's detachable. I don't have that attached right now. And there are pockets for accessories. And so if you're carrying around your headphone to work and home because your favorite headphone is one you only have one of.
Or CanJam.
Or CanJam, yeah. Take a look at the Savior V2 and you'll understand pretty quickly why we have them. It's a protective case.
Yep.
It's purpose-built. I love it. So Deconi Audio's exhibit is a definite must-stop for any headphone geek.
Now at CanJam SoCal, Warwick Acoustics had a line.
A line.
Constantly. They have a quiet listening booth, which is really neat to audition their headphone systems.
Right.
And one of those systems is the Aperio from Warwick Acoustics. And that is a fantastic system. If you haven't heard it before, you absolutely should. If you have heard it before, get back there and listen to it again because this might be one of the few chances you get to hear it in person.
So if you've heard it before, you already know it's an incredible system.
It is.
So let's make clear what it is. It's an electrostatic headphone system.
Yes.
DAC amp and headphone. If I may say this about, okay, so Sennheiser is going to be at CanJam Dallas with the HE1.
Right.
There was a sign-up list on Head5's forums. It went quick.
Yes.
So chances are you're not going to be able to hear the HE1 at the show. If you haven't already signed up, I mean. The Aperio, in my opinion, is the headphone I most want to compare to the HE1 side by side.
Right.
We have an HE1 here at the office. I would love to compare the two. That's how highly I think of the Aperio. That I think it could be a worthy comparison.
It is.
So yeah, fantastic setup. Quite expensive though.
Yes.
We don't have it here though.
Now they'll also have their Bravura system, which is far more affordable.
Yeah.
I think it's like $2,000 if you get it in silver.
I think you're right.
I think.
Yeah.
And it's one of those systems that you buy it, it's complete. You don't need to have anything else. It's got the DAC, it's got the amp, it's got the headphones, and it's again in that quieter listening environment. It's the perfect place to audition. It is very open, but it is a surprisingly nice system that actually I think a lot of studios ended up using it there too.
That wouldn't surprise me. That I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. So I want to say something about that one because it looks so much. The Bravura headphone looks so much like the Model 1.
Very close.
The very first model that Warwick did. The Model 1 to me was a bit bright, and I also found it uncomfortable. It clamped on my rather largish head a lot. The Bravura looks like it. I expected it to sound like it. Sounds to me much, much better. It doesn't even, to me, it sounds like a completely different headphone. It probably is different enough to be maybe fairly categorized that way. And it's way more comfortable. They completely redesigned the headband mechanism as well. I think it's a similar one to the Aperio.
Right.
And it uses, though, the same amp DAC. So that is also a system, amp DAC or DAC amp, and then the headphone. So it's all in one. And you have to use the headphones in both cases with their respective DAC amp. If you heard the Model 1 and it wasn't for you, maybe it was too bright, don't assume that the Bravura sounds like it because it does not.
Yeah.
So make sure it works, exhibit, wait in line. It's worth the wait. Listen to both of those for sure. Mimic Audio's exhibit at CanJam SoCal was immensely popular.
Oh, yeah.
It's what we call, many times we've referred to those multi-brand exhibits as a show within a show type exhibit. And they're great to have at CanJams. Now, at CanJam, Mimic Audio will be featuring in this category, among other things, two very well-loved headphones here at Head5 HQ by Focal. These are their two flagships. The closed-back flagship, Stellia, that you're holding.
Yes.
And I have the Utopia 2022, or the second-generation Utopia from Focal, the open-back flagship. And the reason I'm still so bullish about these headphones is because they are still, in my opinion, the most technically capable, most resolving dynamic headphones, especially Utopia, ever made. So to date, I can say nothing's matched them.
Yes.
That's dynamic. And we've shown it in terms of measured performance, if that matters to you. In fact, I think one of the measurements I think we might have shown, maybe it was in the 2022 one, where we show the how the extension out to 80 kilohertz, that it had the best extension out to 80 kilohertz. It was an experiment which we did with Gross.
We've shown that before, yeah.
Okay. And not that necessarily matters to you, but it shows its, that its capabilities.
Right.
It has a solid beryllium dome. I should mention that.
Yes, it does.
So it has a pure beryllium dome, not beryllium coated anything. It's solid beryllium. And beryllium has some unique qualities.
Yes.
That do things like let it have the best response out to 80 kilohertz. Anyways, and again, most resolving dynamic headphone I've ever heard. Now, the beryllium dome is also used in the closed back one.
Yes, it is. So the Focal Stellia, like you said, it's a closed back. So it shares the same dome. The surround is a little bit different because it's a closed back design. So it's not the same complete assembly, but it does share a lot of the same soul. And part of that translates into the resolution that this headphone can achieve. It's a bit richer. It's a bit lusher. It's maybe a bit much for me personally, whereas that's far more my preference.
Right.
But this is one that a lot of people adore.
I'm one of them. So that is one headphone I pretty much never EQ.
Yeah.
So I should talk about the signature. Let's say you've heard the Utopia, the first gen Utopia, but you haven't heard the Utopia 2022.
Yeah.
What's changed? Again, we have a video where we cover all of that, but about the Utopia 2022. But here, let me summarize it for you. The Utopia, the original, was a bit bright for me.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit bass lean, a little bit bright in the treble. I would EQ it to address those. This headphone, I rarely EQ.
Right.
They fixed it, in my opinion, by smoothing the treble, yet making it more resolving to my ears. And in the way that they shifted the tonal balance, it made it richer sounding. And so that, to me, was pretty much everything I wanted to change about the original Utopia.
Right.
And I rarely EQ the Utopia 2022. That said, every once in a while, I will add a little bit of a bass shelf to it.
I can see that from you, yeah.
Yeah, from me. I know that you won't do it, but I occasionally add a little bit of a bass shelf. But it pretty much almost entirely addressed everything I wanted to address with the original Utopia. Just as true with the original Utopia, fantastically resolving. Again, no dynamic headphone, in my opinion, has ever been more resolving than the Utopias. So at the Mimic Audio exhibit, if you're looking for what I feel are the two of the best dynamic headphones ever made.
Yep.
Closed back, Stellia from Focal. Open back, Utopia 2022.
This is the Odyssey MM100, and I'm going to jump straight into it. I adore this headphone. First of all, it's only $400, so as far as Odysseys go, it's highly affordable. It is called the MM100, so it's part of their Pro series by Manny Marroquin. He's the head of their Pro products and also a Grammy Award-winning music engineer. So
music industry legend.
A legend.
Yeah.
Now, with his touch, this sounds fantastic. It is kind of referencey. Oh, not very, kind of. It is very referencey.
It is very much a studio
It is a
monitor.
studio reference headphone. It does sound like the baby brother to the MM500, but for $400, it's a great place to start. I want to say it's got a 90 millimeter driver, 475 grams steel and magnesium chassis, so it's very lightweight.
For an Odyssey.
For an Odyssey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's got 2 entry points in the bottom, but it is a single entry headphone, so you can choose left or right side. If you're connecting to a workstation, you can choose whichever one's closest. I'm going to say I love that it's single entry because I can use it with an aftermarket cable that has a boom microphone built onto it. I can use this for gaming. The default the signature on this is phenomenal for gaming. It's resolving, it's very clear and detailed, yet it's still fun to me and with my preferences. It's absolutely wonderful. So for $400, you cannot go wrong trying this at Odyssey's table.
Now, another headphone they're going to have at Odyssey's exhibit is something I think I just wanted to show off. This is the Odyssey Maxwell Ultraviolet Edition. I've been waiting a long time for this, so I'm so excited. It just arrived, and it is so beautiful.
Oh, stunning.
So I don't know if they're going to have the Ultraviolet Edition Maxwell at Odyssey's exhibit. If they do, you'll understand why I'm so giddy about it. It's just gorgeous in person. But this is a Maxwell in a different colorway. They'll have Maxwells there. Maybe the Ultraviolet Edition. It's the same thing, just looks like this. But anyway, the Maxwell I want to talk about because it is just a spectacular wireless headphone for listening to music. One of the best wireless headphones for music listening, period, bar none, at any price.
Right.
It's not an active noise canceller. Keep that in mind. So you're not going to take it on an airplane probably. It's not going to cancel airplane noise. But it does, as a gaming headset, this one has a very advanced AI, I think it's an AI-driven noise canceling for outgoing voice.
Yes, it does.
Extremely effective.
Yes.
They demonstrate it where the user is talking to you with a blender operating right next to them, and it cancels it out completely. Anyway, we won't get into that now. So the other thing is it's a gaming headset. That's what it's made for.
Right.
And it comes with a couple of wireless dongles. One works with the PlayStation, one works with Xbox. There are 2 different versions. The Xbox one's a little more expensive, like $20 or $30 more, because it comes with an Atmos license.
Yes, it does.
With the PlayStation, it uses the built-in 3D audio renderer.
Correct.
So for gaming, it is by far the best headset I've ever used. I am not a network gamer like you.
Right.
So I haven't used the mic, but it does come with a boom mic, and it also has beamforming mics built in.
And they're both similar quality.
Yes, fantastic outgoing voice quality because I've used it for phone. But it's just a great Bluetooth headphone as well. It has 80 plus hours of battery life.
Yeah, something like that.
So I like charge it, even when I'm using it a lot, I charge it like once a week, if even.
Right.
And that's just nice too. So this is the most advanced gaming headset in the world. It's also one of the best sounding wireless headphones for, just as a Bluetooth headphone. So don't miss the Maxwell at Odyssey's exhibit. Oh, I want to mention one last thing. They just announced something very cool, that they're bringing head tracking to the Maxwell, which we didn't even know. This was a huge shocker. We didn't know there was any head tracking capability inside of it.
Right.
But they're bringing it. I want to clear this up with Dolby in the Dolby Atmos renderer.
Yes.
For professional mixing and mastering. So at this time, the Maxwell's head tracking feature is only supported in Dolby Atmos renderer, not in any consumer Atmos application. So I want to make that clear. But what's cool about that is, you talked about the MM500.
Yeah.
The Maxwell, which is supposed to be a gaming headset, really primarily, but I think Odyssey had other designs for it as well.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, and we're starting to see them. Is that I think it's also going to now be an industry standard, a studio standard.
Right.
Just like over the decades, right? MDR 7506, Bayer DT770, AKG K240. I mean, the list goes on. Even the Fostex headphones, right? Studio standards for its, so much of the content now is immersive audio.
Yeah.
3D audio. And to produce that, I think this headphone will become a studio standard as well over time. And I think that's kind of neat. I think we're seeing something, this kind of sea change in these advances in how content is going to be produced, and the Maxwell is at the forefront of it. So I think that's exciting. But it's also just a great wireless headphone, so don't miss it at Odyssey's exhibit. And while we're on the subject of Odyssey, I don't know why I felt the need to bring this one out, because I still love this headphone maybe, and we're talking about studio references.
Yep.
And I think before the MM100, MM500, and now, of course, the Maxwell and the immersive audio space, before all that talk of studio purpose-built stuff, the Odyssey LCD X, especially the latest version, which this is, when was that, 2021 or something like that?
2020 maybe?
Oh, maybe 2020.
Yeah.
But when they came out with that tuning, it became another studio standard.
Yep.
I can totally see why. It has a very studio monitor type sound signature, but that's also audiophile friendly.
Right.
It's still one of my favorite Odyssey headphones of all time. I love this headphone. I don't know why I had to bring it up, but it's a classic. And I think because we're talking about studio headphones, before the purpose-built ones, this was,
that
and
was
probably
the go-to.
still is, one of the most popular go-tos for studio use of Odyssey's line.
Yeah.
So at the Odyssey exhibit, make sure not to miss the LCD X either. Love this headphone.
Now, we were just talking about one highly affordable headphone that I'm highly recommending people check out, but there is another. It'll be at Mimic Audio's exhibit.
Also planar magnetic.
Also planar magnetic. This is the Hi-Fi Man Ananda Nano. The reason why I say you're going to want to be checking this out is it does contain a number of technologies from their more expensive, more premium headphones trickled down into a highly affordable body. It has the nanometer thickness diaphragm, the stealth magnets, and it's only coming in at $500.
Yeah, and if you think about the headphones that the nanometer thickness diaphragm, the stealth magnets first appeared on years ago, they were like their flagship models, quite expensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's got a very nice default, very nice signature. It's wonderful to hear. But of the two that we have here that'll be at Mimic Audio's exhibit, there's one Hi-Fi Man headphone that I would personally pick over this.
Yeah.
You are holding it right now.
Yeah, this is also a lot more expensive at $1,300, but still at $1,300 in absolute terms in this market, quite affordable, especially for the performance. So of all the I guess I should say what it's called. It's the Hi-Fi Man Aria Organic.
Yep.
The Aria Organic and the Ananda Nano were both launched, I think, at the same time at Munich High End. It was like a surprise launch. And since that launch, I think the Ananda Nanos are doing quite well, but the Aria Organic is an unquestionable hit.
That's the one I always see people talking about.
Yes. And that's because of the Aria headphones. It's the best, in my opinion, by margin. It has the luscious signature, as you know, and I think I've made pretty clear, I favor a lush signature.
Yep.
Some richness. This has it, and of the Arias.
And the resolution.
Yeah, it's lushness with silly resolution. And I mean that in all the best ways, in all the Hi-Fi Man ways.
Yep.
So this sounds like a more expensive Hi-Fi Man headphone to me.
Yeah.
And it's $1,300. It has the nanometer thickness diaphragm, the stealth magnets. I'm looking at the list, 16 ohm impedance, obviously planar magnetic, large drivers. I would say, in fact, at $1,300, I actually can't think off the top of my head of a headphone I'd say is a stronger value for the dollar. This is probably in fact, I can say unquestionably it's one of the strongest value for the dollar over-ear headphones, period.
Right.
So at the Mimic Audio exhibit, definitely make sure to listen to anything they have from Hi-Fi Man.
Yeah.
I know they'll have the Aria Organic and the Ananda Nano. Definitely listen to both. I would say for sure listen to the Aria Organic. Oh, I also love the way it looks. They did change that with the wood. It does actually, I mean, I don't know. I said it before. It reminds me a bit of the Shangri-La Senior.
Yeah,
the Shangri-La
it does.
line. Yeah. But anyways, don't miss either of these headphones at Mimics exhibit. Now at Sennheiser's exhibit, they'll have what I think is one of the most important headphone releases in quite some time. It's the HD 660 S2.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think this is such an important headphone is you know how much I love the Sennheiser HD 600 and 650.
Right.
The HD 600 family of headphones.
Yes.
They're legendary.
Yeah.
So many of us got our starts with those headphones in the whole head-fi world.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing those headphones needed, that family of headphones needed, I think a lot of people would agree, was more bass extension, deeper bass extension, and more bass presence.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that a lot of the high-end dynamic headphones, since their releases, since the release of the 580, 600, 650, newer dynamic headphones have been able to do.
Yeah.
The 660 S2 comes out, and they did it. So now you have a 600 family headphone that has deeper bass extension and more bass presence, a richer tone down low. And this is what I think it needed. So for me, I think it's the best sounding of the HD 600 family headphones. I know that's maybe a controversial statement because so many people love the 600, 650. I'm one of them.
They do.
But I think this is the best of them. So with this, they optimized the coil. They went back to a 300 ohm design because I think the 660 was
150.
Yeah, I think it was 150 ohms.
Yeah.
So the back to 300 ohms and bass extension. I think this is the best sounding. So controversial opinion maybe. For me, it's not. I mean, it's pretty clear for me. For my preferences, this is the best. See what you think. So definitely go to Sennheiser's exhibit, listen to all of them, and see if you agree with me or disagree with me.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I love when I'm taken by surprise during these CanJam preview videos. Maybe it's a sound signature that blows me away. Maybe I don't know much about the product, and the feature set surprises me. This is one of the latter. This is the Creative Labs Zen Hybrid Pro. It's a $100 Bluetooth wireless headphone, Bluetooth 5.3, so pretty much one of the newest standards you can get. It does support Bluetooth LE, so low energy, and LC3. And it's a family of headphones. So this is the Zen Hybrid Pro. There is the Zen Hybrid Pro Classic, which is the Zen Hybrid Pro with a USB-A dongle and a detachable microphone. They also have the Pro SX-Fi, which has a SX-Fi USB dongle for their processing. Creative Labs is known for their SX-Fi systems.
Right.
Now, this has ANC. So yeah, for $100, you get ANC. When you're running with ANC on, 80 hours of battery life. With ANC off, 100 hours of battery life. Well, up to 100 hours. That's very impressive for $100.
Yeah, you pretty much, you don't have to charge it nearly as often as most of the others.
Not at all. It does have a decent ambient mode. I was able to walk around outside and hear some of the stuff that was going on around me.
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I was, for $100, I'm very, very impressed. They were saying that the ANC does up to 35 dB of broad spectrum cancellation, which is a pretty impressive number, again, given the price. It's only 282 grams, so it's very lightweight. If you're going to be at CanJam Dallas, Creative Lab should absolutely be on your list, and I'm going to say stop by and give this one a listen. For $100,
Yeah, it had a bassy signature,
yes,
but there is an EQ in the app,
yes,
so you can easily EQ it. But its default signature is bassy. But I think some people who are bass heads, like audiophile bass heads, will dig that.
Yeah, the default tuning is gonna be great for them. For me, I had to EQ it down.
So did I. So I EQ'd it down a bit too.
But right out of the box, if you're a bass head, fantastic sound. Now, at recent CanJams, I think it was starting with CanJam New York, might have been 2022.
I don't remember.
Or maybe that was the first time we saw a preview. Meza Audio has been showing off the Meza Audio 109 Pro. Now, we've been talking about some studio referencey headphones, some very studio referencey headphones. And if Meza Audio had a studio reference sound, I think this is probably going to be the closest thing to it that would come from their voicing team.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I would say that it is in that vein. And then I would call that the closest they have to like a studio monitor type sound. I would say it's on the more incisive, brighter side of that. Mm-hmm. But that's probably one of the reasons that really appeals to you.
Yeah, it's very fun. I enjoy it a lot. And I want to say it has a 50 millimeter dual membrane diaphragm. It's beryllium coated polymer, cellulose and carbon fiber composite, and copper zinc alloy. Inside the cup here, covering that driver, is a beautiful grill. And I got to say that extends to the rest of the headphone as well. It is a stunning, classic, elegant design. It's
Meza
very
Audio,
very
in my
beautiful.
opinion, makes the most beautiful headphones today.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful. And they're going to be showing off something that's a little bit less classy, a little bit less elegant. You might call it a little more primal,
Oh boy.
because it's the Meza Audio 109 Pro Primal. It is, as far as the interior goes, it's going to be the same sonics that you can expect from the 109 Pro, but it has a dark walnut wood frame, hand chiseled and sanded, covered in linseed oil. The photos make that look so beautiful.
Stunning.
I didn't get to see it at CanJam SoCal, but they were showing it off there, so some of you may have already had the chance to check it out in person. I'm looking forward to seeing it at CanJam Dallas because I love the sound of the 109 Pro. I cannot wait to get my hand on that Primal.
Yeah, and I think the Primal is going to sound like the 109 Pro, is my guess.
It should sound identical.
But it looks gorgeous. So it is.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
classy in its own way. You were just joking because the name is Primal.
Yes.
But it is classy in its own way, and it's actually just beautiful.
It's
and they've
gorgeous.
shown on social how they make it, the cup, and it is literally hand chiseled,
Oh, yeah.
hand sanded, and then, like you said, finished with linseed oil. Gorgeous. Now, I just said that Meza Audio makes some of the most beautiful headphones in the world, and they will have what I think are the two most beautiful headphones maybe ever made, and the most meticulously crafted headphones
Yes.
ever made, in the Meza Audio Empyrean and the Meza Audio Elite. They're two flagship headphones. They are incredibly beautiful. They're also, in terms of sound, two of my favorite flagship headphones ever released. So they will have those there. Don't miss it. I will also say that, there's only so much I can say, but I can say this. You will definitely want to go to Meza Audio's exhibit at CanJam Dallas. Yeah, you just definitely have to go there. So don't miss Meza's exhibit. Now, in the big world outside of HeadFi, the world of normal people,
Yeah.
Everybody's pretty much gone portable.
Yes.
Portable for everything.
Yeah.
But within the HeadFi community, there's still a lot of us who like desktop stuff.
Very much.
And, we're sitting down a lot, or some of us anyway. I am.
Mhm.
Everybody in this office, desktop rigs. Why a desktop rig still? Because as great as the portable stuff has gotten,
Mhm.
I don't know of any portable rigs that could say, for example, perform at the level of these two systems that are directly in front of me here.
Right.
And if I'm going to be sitting down and I have the space and the time, this is what I want to listen to.
Yep.
All right. So I want to start with DCS. We mentioned DCS a lot in the CanJam preview videos when they exhibit. Why? Because they put on the best exhibit, or certainly one of the best exhibits that we've ever seen at any CanJam in CanJam history.
Yes, they
Why?
do.
A bunch of listening stations around each has some acoustic isolation, and you're within a quieter room already.
Right.
Great variety of headphones to listen to. Obviously, DCS-centric systems,
Yes.
but a lot of headphones that you can listen to, and then you can plug in your own. The DCS Lena stack here is probably going to be the centerpiece of most of the systems because this is the most HeadFi thing they make.
Mhm.
But it can still be used in a speaker driving setup as well.
Oh, easily.
But this is the most HeadFi thing they make. Here at HeadFi HQ, the DCS Lena stack you see here is definitely one of the cost no object reference systems here at the office.
Right.
Moves around the office for easy to understand reasons when you listen to it. So what's the big news with Lena? It's the DCS Lena DAC recently received a huge firmware update,
Yes.
a very significant one. Sometimes when you get a firmware update, you see little changes or it's,
Right.
fixing little bugs. No, this was a major update. And the DCS Lena DAC, I would consider it, because it's a DCS DAC, the Ring DAC, I'd consider it the heart of this system.
Mhm.
So what does it bring? Lena 2.0 brings 2 new mapper settings to the Lena Network DAC. These are settings that were introduced in the DCS Vivaldi, Rossini, and Bartok ranges. That's actually what, again, this firmware does. It kind of brings it up into their higher level DACs. For those of you not familiar with DCS, for those of you who are familiar with DCS, you know that the Lena, as expensive as it is actually not their most expensive stuff, not even close.
No, and their system range is very affordable.
Yeah, this would be affordable for DCS.
Yeah.
But anyways, it brings it into some features into that. And again, it enables the Ring DAC to operate at double speed, so 5.6 or 6.14 megasamples per second versus half that for the previous. It brings DSD 128 upsampling, allowing the Lena Network DAC to convert PCM audio to DSD at a greater speed. It allows them to push noise into a higher frequency range, somewhere above 40 kilohertz. They say it can improve spatial presentation and a more natural, nuanced sound. Now, I haven't had time because we just updated it to switch between that, but I will definitely play with that when we get back. New PCM and DSD filters with a 2.0 update, bringing 4 new PCM filters and an additional DSD filter. F5 is the setting with relaxed roll-off and smoother phase response. Balance controls. You don't see that on too much gear anymore in Head-Fi.
No, but it's nice when devices do have it.
Right. Now, this means the Lena Network DAC can now adjust volume. You can adjust volume of each channel in isolation, compensate for volume differences between left and right channels.
Yep.
And what's nice is it's in really precise 1/10 decibel steps. And there are now new text size settings. I would say that's the most minor one, but if you're sitting across the room from your Lena stack, it lets you see, it makes it easier to see the display. So again, this is a major update. You can tell from the things I mentioned, a lot of it's performance upgrades. And again, it gets the Lena stack right up there now in terms of features and settings with the DCS Vivaldi, Rossini, Bartok ranges. And I think that's very, very cool.
Very.
Shit Audio is actually in California and Texas now, right?
Yes.
So we're going to be, we were in their backyard in SoCal, one of their backyards. We're going to their other backyard.
We're going to visit again.
In Texas. Yeah. So Shit Audio always has a cool exhibit when they show because they have so much gear spanning
many price ranges.
Yeah, many price ranges. And I want to focus on their newest, or certainly one of their newest pieces, the Shit Audio Midgard.
Yes.
So it's a balanced headphone amp and preamp with Shit Audio's Halo topology. And I'll get to what that is in a second. So Midgard this is Shit's words now. Midgard is simply the best measuring, highest powered, discrete headphone amp we've ever made. But that's not all. Midgard's new Halo topology also offers the potential for higher performance where it matters, at your ears. So what Halo is, it's a mixed mode feedback topology that incorporates your headphone driver into the feedback loop, offering the potential for better control at driver resonance and improved acoustic results. All right, this is another one that just arrived.
Yes.
So the Midgard is a fully discrete amplifier.
Yes, it is.
We have not had a chance to measure it yet because it just got here, so we haven't gotten it on the bench. But with that claim, the best measuring, highest powered discrete headphone amp we've ever made, I have to measure this thing when we get back. I want to see, because I trust that it is.
Right.
I've got to see it for myself. The other thing I want to mention about this, though, is I had a chance to listen to it with a couple of in-ears, but really mostly over-ears. Beautiful sounding amp. By the way, I want to mention that the Halo topology is on the balanced output only.
Yeah, I was going to ask which connection you were using.
Yeah, because it has the balanced, so the XLR output, that's where it is. It's not on the TRS or the single-ended output.
Correct.
And by the way, it says here, designed and built in Shit Audio's new Texas facilities.
There you go.
There you go. So they also say this, by the way, and I want to mention this before I say the really big kicker to me. If you have an acoustic measurement rig and want to publish your results, positive or negative, contact Shit Audio and they'll get you a Midgard to measure. That's cool.
That is very cool.
I have an acoustic measurement rig, guys. But anyway, so the other thing is the price.
Yes.
So this is a discrete amp, a fully discrete amp with high power up to 4.8 watts, I think into 32 ohms or something like that.
I believe so.
And it's $220.
Yeah.
To me, that's just incredible.
Right.
And it sounds awesome.
And it's a small footprint too.
Yes. So yeah, because that's it right there. So you can see it's quite small next to the DCS Lena stack. Yeah, it's tiny, but very impressive. Listen to everything that Shit has at their exhibit. Start with the Midgard.
Yes.
And let them know if you have an acoustic measurement rig.
Calling all electrostatic enthusiasts, there is a new electrostatic amplifier that will be at CanJam Dallas this year. It's coming from Metaxas and Sins. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you or you guys, they made an amplifier several years ago in the shape of a skull. It's called the Marquee. You've probably seen it before. It had some really cool VU meters. It was a headphone stand amplifier combo. Well, they're coming to CanJam Dallas, and that Marquee will be there, by the way. But they're showing off a new electrostatic amplifier called the Ethereal. Now, we don't know too much about it aside from some details, so I'm going to read them off real quick. It is a dual balanced mono ultra low noise, high voltage, purely discrete amplifier with a 580 volt bias, which I think is Stax Pro bias.
Pro bias, yeah.
It's, if you're buying it at the show or if you're considering buying it at the show, you should know that they are giving away a free Stax headphone with it because of that Pro bias pairing. They say it's a $2,500 value. I have an idea, kind of maybe a couple models that might fall in that vein, so we'll see, which ones it's going to be. Or you get a $3,000 value stand. Now, you're an electrostatic aficionado, actually.
I am.
We have a number of electrostatic amps around here.
Yeah, like including right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So what headphone electrostatic-wise would you probably take?
Well, what, you mean to audition with
Audition, yeah.
I would probably use, I'm curious to know if it could drive a Shangri-La Senior.
There we go.
From Hi-Fi Man. And of course, I've spent so little time with the Stax, the 9000.
Yeah.
That I would like to try that as well.
Okay.
But I'm actually an SR-07 fan.
Yeah.
Like, I have 2 of them. So Mark 1 and 2. So yeah, would probably want to try those as well.
So there's a few options for you. I will say it's a rather expensive amplifier. It's quoted at $35,000. But if you don't want to make the plunge blind and you want to try it out first, CanJam Dallas is the best place to do that.
You had to know it was going to be expensive when they're saying free Stax headphone.
Yeah, exactly.
Free $3,000 stand. But yeah.
And I'll also mention they do have a new headphone. It's called the X1. We don't know much about it. I don't know if it'll be at the show, but it will be coming out next year.
I think it's coming out next year.
To pair with that amplifier.
Yeah.
Now, another amplifier that we haven't had a chance to have here in the studio yet, but hopefully soon because they're getting ready to launch it, if I'm not mistaken. ZMF headphones. You may have seen their prototype amplifiers from the past couple of CanJams. They're showing off, I believe, the final production version at CanJam Dallas. And you're going to be able to hear, it's a solid state collaboration amplifier with JDS Labs. You'll be able to hear it with your favorite ZMF headphones or some of your own headphones if you're bringing any from home. So make sure to stop by. I want to mention real quick, it's got a 2.2 watt max continuous power output into 32 ohms, which is plenty for a lot of 32 ohm headphones. It has a switchable, and this is kind of cool, switchable 1 ohm and 47 ohm output impedance. So if you have something that's harder to drive and you kind of want to put that higher impedance into it, it's just a quick little toggle. I love that.
Is the JDS one the one that has the arch top where the volume knob is?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, we've seen photos of it prior to CanJam SoCal.
Yeah.
So I go to see it for the first time at CanJam SoCal. Could not listen to it because it was busy.
Yeah, it's always packed in there.
Yeah, but if you look at the pictures, the proportions almost make it look small.
It kind of does.
And maybe because I know JDS Labs, a lot of their amps are more compact.
Right.
I thought it's actually like a desktop size.
It's bigger than
component.
you might think.
Yes, it's bigger than I thought it would be from the photos for sure.
Yeah. So make sure to stop by the ZMF headphones room and give that amplifier a try. Now, I also think ZMF headphones will be showing off their Deckware reference ZMF OTL that we've seen at a couple of CanJams now. It's been on sale for a little bit, but it's always one that we kind of end up drooling over a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't heard it yet. And as a tube amp enthusiast, that will be one of the ones I really want to hear at CanJam Dallas. So this is an OTL, which is output transformerless. I love OTL amps in the right applications. The tube complement on this one, 5U4G rectifier, 6N6P drivers, and then 6DJ8, ECC88, 6922, 6N1P input. It's 450 watts, I think at 250 ohms, and it has dual left-right VU meters.
Yes.
I love my VU meters.
Yes, me too.
So, I believe it can also serve as a preamp. So this will be one of the amps I have to hear at CanJam Dallas for sure. I was surprised and happy to see that Creative Labs was exhibiting at CanJam Dallas.
Yeah, me too.
So it was a bit of a surprise for me. When I see Creative Labs and Sound Blaster, those names, it just brings me back to some pretty old days, going back to when we build our own computers, things like that. And they've been part of my history. I visited their headquarters as well. But anyways, I was happy to see that they'll be there.
Yeah, it's nice that they're coming out, and they'll be showing off the Sound Blaster X5.
A Sound Blaster.
Desktop system. It's a bus-powered desktop DAC amp combo. It has dual Cirrus Logic CS43198 DACs inside, which support 32384 and DSD256. They do say it's compatible with headphones up to 600 ohm, but what I like is that they also mention it has an output impedance of only 1 ohm. It does support virtual surround sound with HRTF support. I should probably mention...
I haven't played with that yet.
Yeah, neither have I.
Okay.
But I should mention it's a multimedia system, so it does support gaming, it does support music, it does support video playback, so movies or TV shows. It does have some built-in EQ modes for those different modes. They call it music, movie, and gaming adjustable. You can actually change the EQ if you want in the desktop app, but right out of the box, they have them preset. And it's also one of the coolest things for me is that it has UAC 1 support. What that basically means is if you're a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 owner, there's a little toggle on the front for console versus PC. Just flip it down to console, you can plug it straight into your game console, you're off to the races.
That's pretty cool.
Very, very simple. So when you stop by Creative Labs exhibit, make sure the X5 is on your list.
I've talked about the Chord Electronics Hugo TT2 a lot, just because I love the thing so much.
Yeah.
This setup right here, the Hugo TT2 M Scaler, is also for us one of the I would call it, at least as I see budgets, a cost no object type reference system here as well. It's also British, but anyways, the Chord Electronics Hugo TT2. The reason I keep bringing it up is because it's been out for a while, but it's still, in my opinion, one of my high references as a DAC at any price, and especially when you use it with the M scaler, which I'll get to in a second. And it's so versatile because the amp is so quiet, or the whole DAC amp is so quiet that in terms of self noise, that even the most sensitive in-ears can be driven by it, no hiss. And then it has enough juice to drive even, I would say most, if not all, of the hardest to drive headphones that I'd want to plug into it, into a desktop rig, with up to 18 watts into 8 ohms. So a lot of versatility. Love it for that. Now I want to talk about the M scaler, but I guess I should first say with Chord Electronics DACs, if you're a Chord Electronics aficionado, you probably know that the DACs, they talk about tap count a lot. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know that I'm qualified to try to explain it too much anyway, but the tap count of the DAC, the higher it is, the higher you generally go in the Chord Electronics line. And the Hugo TT2 has 98,304 taps. Add the M scaler, and it's over 1 million taps. Now, what does that mean? So the best way I can explain it is just tell a quick story. I'll try to tell it quickly if I can. So the story is, I'm at CES. It was many years ago. I think it was when they first introduced the M scaler with the Blue Mark II. Same technology as in this M scaler. I'm with Rob Watts, just the two of us in the room at the Chord Electronics exhibit, listening to a speaker rig. He said, let's demo the M scaler. So he takes out this classical CD, puts it in, hits play. M scaler was off. When the track starts, there's a little bit of a rumble, and then the music goes. And the rumble was definitely not supposed to be there, but it was in the recording. Okay. So we're listening to the music, which is what we thought we'd be listening to, of course. He says, you ready to switch in the M scaler? I said, yeah, let's do it. So we switch in the M scaler. Starts over with the CD. The rumble happens, which we weren't really thinking we were going to pay attention to. The thing was, with the M scaler on, when the rumble hit, and this was through loudspeakers, it was as if, and it was no louder than it was before, but now it took on the life of, like there was a train adjacent to where we were sitting, or somewhere nearby, that enough that we could hear it. And we both looked at each other with big eyes like, did you hear that? And so we rewound it again. We played it again with the M scaler on, and it did it again. So he's like, let's do it with the M scaler off. So now we're listening, instead of the music, we're listening to this rumble. And so we turned the M scaler up, played again. Again, it was no quieter, no louder. But it just did not fill the room. Like, in terms, I'm guessing it's like a time domain thing. I don't know what was happening. That's the best way I can explain the M scaler. It makes everything more present. It definitely, to my ears, has a more pronounced effect through a loudspeaker setup. But it is still audible with a headphone setup. So there's the M scaler. A story. I don't know how. Go to the Chord Electronics exhibit and listen to the Hugo TT2. See if they have an M scaler there. Do an M scaler demo. Ask them for that, because it's worthwhile. Now, obviously, most popular category, it'd have to be IEMs. And you can see with a table full of IEMs, that's where we're going. This is the category we'll be talking about, but I want to start with a quick story. Yeah, I know I'm not good at quick stories. So I'm in college a zillion years ago. JFK is the president. Okay, JFK wasn't the president, but it was a long time ago. And it was a high-end store. My favorite room in the store had a pair of speakers in it called the Lin Isobarics. They were incredible. And the whole system that was in that room was incredible. So I would try to escape to this room as often as possible, because those Lin Isobarics could charge the acoustic of that room so thoroughly and so densely that it was like you were in there with the energy of the actual performance, like you were there with the band or the orchestra. And I love that feeling, because it was really not just the sound, but a feeling. And they weren't bass heavy, but it was such an important part of it. So what gave it that capability? In each, as the name might suggest, in each of the cabinets, so in each of the two speakers, were two, and I can't believe I remember this, two KEF B139 oval woofers in an isobaric configuration, in a cone to magnet isobaric configuration. And they could hit so hard, and they could extend so deep. As I recall, it had like actual very usable extension well below 20 hertz. So that's where so much of that physicality, that visceral experience came from. All right. There was a lot more to them. I don't want to talk about those any more than that, because obviously I'm not here to review old speakers. And we're supposed to be talking about IEMs. So I want to talk about these IEMs. and why that story was brought up.
Yep.
This is the 64 audio velour.
Yes.
I hadn't heard them until we were preparing for this preview video for Dallas. And when I first heard them, knowing really nothing about them, because we get sent a lot of gear for the preview, and I don't really know a lot about much of it if it's new.
Right.
I listened to it, and right away it reminds me of that room. Not that it sounded just like that room, but that visceral physicality. For an IEM, the bass was so textured, hit so hard, and was so detailed that I was reminded of that room. So now here's the funny part. So now we have to do the show notes because we have these computers in front of us. We have to know what these products are, like what's in them. The velour it's a 10-driver hybrid IEM. 2 dynamic drivers for the bass, 7 balanced armature drivers, 6 mid, 1 high mid, 1 TIA balanced armature driver for the high. So the TIA being that open enclosure balanced armature driver that I think is proprietary to, it's specific and proprietary for 64 audio. But the 2 dynamic drivers are in a cone to magnet isobaric configuration in a really neat way. Just go to their website because I can't really describe the physical design of it, but it's super unique. And when I saw that, I was really tickled about that. So I thought that was neat. That's why I told the story about the Lin isobarics. I don't think it's a coincidence. Anyway, so like other 64 audio in-ears, it has the Apex modules, so you can tune the bass.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to guess you're going to take it down a little bit.
I will.
Okay.
Yep.
So you can tune the bass with these Apex modules. It also changes the level of passive isolation. But right where it's at when you get them is, I think it has the M15 Apex installed.
I think so.
And that, if you want to hear where I think the bass is just about perfect, listen to them with the M15s. So yeah, it's not just the bass, by the way. The mids are beautiful. The highs super extended, very airy, images beautifully. Again, velour, one of the best IEMs I've ever heard. So it would be probably one of my top, if not my top recommendations to hear at CanJam Dallas for sure. Now, another IEM that is brand spanking new that will be at CanJam Dallas is the Fur Audio Electron 12. Now, you told me they had a prototype of it at CanJam SoCal. This I did not know.
Bloom Audio had a prototype at CanJam SoCal. They'll have the final production version at CanJam Dallas.
Okay, so this will be at the Bloom Audio exhibit again.
Yes.
This will be the final production version. This, and I'm holding in my hands, is a production tuned version.
Yes.
But the cable is going to be different on the production version.
Right.
So the production cable will be pure silver, oxygen-free, copper-shielded clear cable. So the clear sheathing, it'll look more copper in appearance. So I should mention that. So they send the Electron 12 for audio does. I contacted them kind of late, so we've only had it for a few days.
Right.
Right away, absolutely visceral bass. I contact Vlad. I want to learn more about what's in it. He says in each earpiece is one 12-millimeter electrodynamic driver. I was a bit surprised. I didn't guess that it was just one driver per side. And I asked him for more information about it. He said that the driver is uniquely coupled with the IEM chassis to act as a secondary transducer for lower frequencies. And it's called tactile bass technology. I'll say that's aptly named because it's tactile.
Very.
It's physical. I love it. So it touches my audiophile bass head personality
Yeah, I see that.
without being strictly a bass head earphone. And they talk about it in the water cooler thread, which I haven't seen yet. I haven't had a chance to go look to see what they're saying about it. But this seems like an IEM that would be right up their alley.
Oh, I could definitely see that.
Because they like bass-rich earphones.
With detail.
With detail.
Yeah.
So this meets that criteria. I think they're going to love this one.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I want to mention about it, it has a cool thing called SwapX.
Oh, yeah.
This has nothing to do with the way it sounds. It's a way to customize the appearance, which I think is very cool. I've never seen an implementation exactly like this. It comes with this little tool, the SwapX tool, that's essentially a suction cup, which I think is neat.
Yeah.
And you can suction cup off the plates very easily and pop in a new plate. They're held in, I'm guessing, with magnets.
They are.
And it just takes seconds to change. And it's a very nice way to customize the appearance. So I think that's cool too. So this is the Fur Audio Electron 12. Of all the new IEMs, this is definitely another high recommendation for me that you have to check out at CanJam Dallas for sure. Now, apparently, just like at CanJam, we're having a hard time leaving the Bloom Audio exhibit in this video because they have so much stuff. They're, as you mentioned, like a show within a show type exhibit.
Right.
And they'll also have, I want to mention, Tech cables, their full lineup from Singapore. And this brings me back to something that I talked about in the CanJam SoCal preview when I brought up the water cooler thread and the guys that participate in it. I love that place because they set up, as I mentioned in SoCal preview, a safe space in which they're so civil with each other that they can do things like review cables and talk about cables, which can be controversial in so many other places. And I love that they do that. I love going into that thread to look for things like that. And actually, one of the things I saw, for example, is talk of the Elitech Sonnet of Atom IEM cable.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the Sonnet of Atom. And I think one of the reasons you were seeing talk about it was, if I'm not mistaken, one of the water cooler guys, maybe more, went home with one of these after CanJam SoCal. And part of the reason behind that is because of the materials that are inside of it.
Okay.
So it has a gold-plated silver, gold-plated copper, and gold-silver alloy design, 24 gauge, 4-wire makeup. It comes in 2-pin or MMCX on the in-ear side, and ours is the 2-pin. Okay. And it comes in 3.5 millimeter or 4.4 millimeter on the device. Now, if you have a favorite in-ear, definitely come to CanJam to try them out, because you'll be able to go to Bloom Audio's exhibit, hook yours up to it. If you can't, I would say stop into the water cooler thread, ask around, because you might be able to get some help there, seeing how your favorite in-ear pairs with this cable.
Sure.
But you can go to Bloom and try it yourself. Why would you not do that?
Yeah, if you can be at CanJam Dallas, if you can be at a show and bring your own in-ears and cable roll them there, that's the best way to do it.
Exactly.
So they'll also have headphone cables.
Yes, they will have full-size headphone cables like this, which is the Elitech Purgatorio. It's the Dante series cables. And they're going to have, I think, a couple different versions. This is terminated in the dual mini 3-pin XLR. Yeah. So this is for things like Odyssey headphones, ZMF headphones. They're also going to be able to, you can also order it in 3.5 millimeter dual connection or dual 2.5 millimeter connections.
On the headphone side.
On the headphone
side. So for Hi-Fi Man, for example.
Perfect for Hi-Fi Man. And they've got Sennheiser HD800 connectors. There's a number of options available. It comes in a 3.5 or 4.4 millimeter termination. We have the 4.4. It is fully constructed of high purity OCC silver blend in a dual 21 gauge design. And if you're going to be bringing full-size headphones, this is a great time to try them out with the Purgatorio at Bloom Audio's exhibit.
Yeah, I've been having fun cable rolling against stock cables here with the Atrium.
Yeah.
From ZMF, and also the Odyssey LCDX, which is still one of my favorite headphones. So yeah, that's fun. And again, no better place to do it than in person at a show. Make sure to stop by Bloom's exhibit.
Now, there's an in-ear that's not on this table, but I do want to mention it quickly because it will be at CanJam Dallas, and I think it's going to be a big draw.
I agree.
Empire Ears will have the Empire Ears Raven. We had it briefly before CanJam SoCal. Not long enough. Yeah. And early sonic impressions have me thinking it's going to be a huge pull for a lot of people.
I agree.
So it is a 12-driver quad-brid design. Starts out with 2 W9 Plus dynamic drivers, which, if I'm not mistaken, they are exclusive to Empire. I think that's an in-house design.
I think you're right.
5 balanced armature drivers, 4 EST drivers, and 1 bone conduction driver. Basically, just from our quick listening impressions, I'm going to be surprised if not everyone stops by and gives it a demo.
Yeah, it's physical. It's fun. I would even say that it probably replaces, as my all-time Empire favorite, the Phantom. So I love the Raven.
Okay.
Yeah, the Raven's a pretty exciting piece.
Now, another in-ear which we don't have here, but I think is worth checking out, will be at Noble Audio's exhibit. It is the Noble Audio Focus Prestige. It is a true wireless hybrid in-ear. It comes with a 8.2 millimeter dynamic driver and 2 Knowles balanced armature drivers inside. As far as their true wireless, if you've heard any of the ones in the past from Noble Audio, this one is fantastic. You absolutely have to check it out. I think it has like 10 hours of battery life, and something like 15 minutes of quick charge gives you 70 minutes of playback. So it's very functional, and the sound is beautiful.
I have not heard that one yet, so I want to hear that.
Well, you should. Yeah. And if you're looking for a wired connection, Noble Audio will also have the Noble Audio Ronin. This is one I got to hear briefly. I think it was CanJam Chicago earlier this year. Oh, it's a lovely piece. It is a 12-driver hybrid IEM, 4 Sonium balanced armature drivers for the sub bass and bass, 4 balanced armature drivers for the mid-low and mid-range, and 4 electrostatic drivers for the high and super high. With my quick demo, this was highly resolving, highly detailed. So if you've been listening to any of the CanJam preview videos or some of our reviews, you might know by now that's square within my wheelhouse. Very clear. It's exactly what I'm looking for in an in-ear.
Which means maybe I would think it was slightly bright.
You might.
So I want to hear that one. I haven't heard that one either. Now, one I did hear at CanJam SoCal was the Noble Audio Spartacus. And this one wasn't bright at all to me. It was just a beautiful reference type signature. I had no idea this model even existed until I went to the show and listened to it. I think it's sold out right now. Hopefully they're making more. It's 6 drivers per side, 1 Sonian ultra high balanced armature, 2 Sonian bone conductors, 1 Sonian mid bass balanced armature, 2 Sonian bass and ultra bass balanced armatures. Again, more of a reference type signature. Definitely want to spend more time with that one. I'm really hoping they have that at the show. If they do, don't miss that one either.
Now, switching back to something that we have here and we have spent some more time with, this is Canara's Imperial Loki. This is one that I think is going to be drawing a lot of attention, partially for its sound, partially for its arrangement of accessories. But it is a 12-driver quad bridge design, 1 dynamic, 6 Knowles balanced armature, 4 Sonian ESTs, and 1 bone conduction driver make up the complement inside. It does come with Effect Audio's UP-OCC pure copper cable. It's terminated in 4.4 millimeter. And as far as accessories go, it's not just that cable. There are so many ear tips with this thing. It's kind of insane. You get ear tips from Asla, Final, SpinFit, and Symbio in a single package. That's pretty much unheard of as far as I'm aware. Yeah. You have so many options straight out of the box. You don't need to go hunting down different tips to do cable swap or tip swapping your set straight out of the box.
Like I do at Tokyo when I buy just crates of cables.
When you buy
ear tips.
Bring back so many ear tips. Now, I want to point out that on their website, they do mention that there are 2 voicings for this. So before I get into Sonics, they mentioned that there is an international and a China-specific model. I'm guessing we have the international version based on the tuning. What they say is the international version offers a hint of a brighter signature compared to the Chinese version for audiophiles who are into more energetic and ethereal music experience. Now, based on what I've heard with this, I'm going to say that's probably the international one because to me, it's got wide extension on both sides. It's very detailed in resolving. The upper register is very clearly my favorite part of this signature. The low end is a little more prominent than I would typically go for. But for a lot of people, because I tend to like it leaner than many, that's going to be square within a lot of people's wheelhouse. As far as flagships go, this Canara Imperial Loki is definitely worth checking out.
Now, being in Dallas puts us in the backyard of Lucid Audio.
Yes, it does.
They're the parent company of West Tone Audio and Etymotic. And I want to start with the West Tone Audio Mach 60 because there are like 8 different Mach models. That's a lot of models.
Yeah.
And the reason there are 8 is because there are 8 ES models, I believe.
I believe so.
And the ES is their custom fit professional line, and they wanted to make a universal fit counterpart line to the ES line. Anyway, my favorite ES model is the ES60. And no coincidence, my favorite Mach model is the Mach 60.
Yep.
So I highly suggest you go listen to the Mach 60. I think it's the most balanced of them. However, Warren Peachy, popular Headfire, also works at Headfi. He disagrees. He prefers the Mach 80 and because he likes the ES80. So we jokingly debate all the time about which one's better. You know, I say the 60, he says the 80. So if you want to hear what I think, listen to the Mach 60 at their exhibit. And if you want to know what Warren likes more, listen to the Mach 80.
Yep.
So another one I wanted to talk about is the Etymotic Evo.
Yes.
And that's to me, that's a very important in-ear. And the reason is because Etymotic, they made the very first high-end in-ear I ever purchased a jillion years ago. And that was when Tyle Hertzens was still with Headroom.
Yep.
And then later, of course, we know him from Inner Fidelity. Now he's retired. And he recommended the ER4 very strongly when he was with Headroom. And I picked one up. And it's been a disease ever since, the IEM disease. It's, obviously I've had and listened to many high-end IEMs since, but the Etymotic ER4 will always be that first one. And I still actually love the way it sounds, especially the bassier one.
Right.
I can't remember the
XR.
name. XR.
Yep.
The ER4 XR.
Yep.
But the Evo is important because it is their first multi-driver design.
Right.
And Etymotic was very, very married. I mean, I didn't think they were ever going to make a non-single driver in-ear. I mean, they defended it,
right.
The single driver concept. So when they did finally a multi-driver design, I think it's 3 balanced armatures per side.
I think so.
They made what I now think is their best sounding in-ear ever. So that's an important in-ear for me because the Etymotic mark and their products mean so much to me. So the Evo is definitely one I recommend you also listen to at the Lucid Audio, West Tone Audio, Etymotic exhibit at CanJam Dallas, yeah.
Now, there are a couple of in-ears that are kind of shrouded in mystery. I say mystery because there's pretty much no information online. We only found out they were going to be there because they were in the CanJam show guide this year.
Right, so we have to edit the printed show guide, and when we were going through our edits of them, we noticed these products mentioned, and we're like, really? We didn't know they were going to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Creative Labs, they are coming to CanJam Dallas, and they're bringing 2 true wireless in-ears. One is called the Orvana Ace. The other is called the Orvana Ace 2. The Orvana Ace has aptX adaptive, and the Ace 2 has aptX lossless, both of which are cool features, but that's honestly for me not the key selling points. Inside of these in-ears are XMEMS drivers. Now, during CanJam Dallas seminars, Michael Ricci is going to be talking about XMEMS technology. All of that technology is implemented and realized in full in these true wireless
Yeah,
in-ears.
I'm just going to say that if you're not familiar with XMEMS drivers, I believe they're the first solid-state true MEMS speakers.
Yeah.
So they are, according to XMEMS, extremely fast. Like I think they're saying 150 times faster than a traditional moving coil dynamic design.
Right.
So, of course, I haven't seen the data myself, but they are, and I've heard demos of them, extremely resolving, extremely fast sounding drivers. So I think this is going to be a can't miss because it'll be the first fully productized version of an XMEMS product that I've heard. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Go to Creative Labs exhibit at CanJam Dallas so you can hear it too. Now, you were just talking about a couple of true wireless earphones that we hope we can hear at CanJam Dallas.
Yep.
Now I want to talk quickly about one that I've spent so much time with because it is one of the two best true wireless earphones I've heard of all true wireless earphones I've heard, and I've heard a lot of them. And it's a Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3. Sennheiser will be at CanJam Dallas, obviously. And the Momentum True Wireless 3 is significant to me because it has the best default tuning of any true wireless I've heard for my tastes, of the many I've heard, the many we have here.
Right.
And even more significantly, perhaps, of all of Sennheiser's in-ears, wired, wireless, all of them, I would say this has my favorite tuning, tonal balance of all of them.
Yep.
So the IE900, their flagship wired earphone, it's a reference for both of us.
Yes.
I would still say it is my favorite Sennheiser in-ear to date. Overall, the resolving ability for that one wins the day over something like a true wireless here. But in terms of just tonal balance, if I could take the tonal balance of the Momentum True Wireless 3 and kind of adapt the IE900 to get closer to that, I think I'd like the IE900 even more than I do now.
Yeah.
So the IE900 is still my favorite Sennheiser in-ear ever, but I just love the tonal balance of the True Wireless 3. So at CanJam Dallas, make sure to listen to the IE900, of course, the IE600, but the Momentum True Wireless 3 is, I would say, my first recommendation at their exhibit for in-ears for sure.
Well, that's about all the time we have for in this preview video. We're fixing to hit the road. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, we couldn't spotlight everything that'll be in Texas, but here's the complete list of exhibitors and brands you can check out this weekend. Really appreciate you joining us. We'll see you in Dallas and on the forums at headfi.org.